Hello, and welcome back to the Resting Stitch Face podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sarah Harding, along with
Dr. Erin Sheffield. Today we're diving into social media, but not the highlight reel, the real conversation between what we're all watching right now. We're breaking down trends, viral messages, and the stuff that sounds good, like be grateful for the life you once prayed for, and asking, is this actually helpful? From mental load and relationships to cancel culture and building a voice online, we're getting into all of it. If you've ever scrolled and thought, wait, something feels off about this episode's for you. So let's get into it.
And if you're like me and you have no idea what the viral trends are, well, this may be eye-opening because we get to all learn a little something, right?
I know that's probably like tied into TikTok. Like most of your friends are not, and there's like all these things that we're learning and seeing all day on
Right.
TikTok. And then you talk to other people and they're like, what? And you're like, what do you mean you don't know about this? And then like 3 weeks later, it comes to Instagram and suddenly everyone's like, whoa, cool, this hip new thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's such old news.
I'm so far beyond that.
You're such old news. So the inspiration behind this was I keep seeing this meme going around, and it's usually other surgeons putting it out there, other doctors and physicians, and they keep talking about, they have this overlay and they show this B-roll of them like in the OR or whatever. And it's basically like your old self would have been grateful for this life you're living now. Your previous self prayed to be going through these challenges. And it sounds inspirational, but it kind of drives me nuts. It's like taking me back to a place in residency where you weren't allowed to complain.
I remember those times very well.
I remember when I was an intern, so I was a non-cat intern, so I was trying to get into the program, and I was a big blogger back then. And not that anyone...
Were you really?
Yes, I was. Not that anyone ever read my blog, except if you know Dr. Faith. Who's also online. She's amazing. She was like one of my OG fans, which is so sweet. And I love seeing that she's like come full circle from dental student watching to being on Instagram as an oral surgeon herself.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember blogging once about just having a hard time and how, residency is just so hard and it's so thankless. And, just after a hard day, it's just so hard that like no one cares that you did a good job. And evidently all the chiefs were talking behind my back, gossiping about like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's saying all this. As an intern, you're not allowed to complain. Because, I'm trying to get into the program, so I have to just be, this is the best. I love it so much. And that bothered me. One, like, why are they reading my blog anyway?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you know why. But two, I wasn't complaining to any of them. I was complaining to what I thought was my safe place. And I think two things can be true. We're grateful to be where we are. We've come so far. Of course, this is the life that we prayed for. And also to acknowledge that it can be really hard. And maybe there are things about this life that we didn't expect and didn't know.
yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that there was nobody in my residency, staff-wise, that had kids and was a female. So that's how I know that we were not prepared for where we were at now. You know what I mean? Like I had one female staff and she didn't have any kids, and then it was all men that had older kids or wives. So I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think just also, I'm all for gratitude. I think gratitude is so important. And I think it's really important for reframing things that are hard and to find the silver linings, etc. But when it's framed in like shame, like how dare you feel this way? It's amazing and you shouldn't be feeling this bad. I hate it so bad. And that's why I don't like this trend that's going around.
Yeah. And I think it really reminds me of when you are in the grocery store and your kids are throwing a tantrum and it's all you can do to like maintain composure. And there's people around you giving you like nasty looks. And then there's another person that's at the checkout counter. It's like, enjoy this because this time of life is fleeting and it won't last. And you're going to miss this. This is the best stage and you're going to miss this stage. And and you're like, F off. I am having a hard time right now. I don't need you and your virtue signaling telling me what you did and what you think that you could have done better, because I know if you're just like my mom looking at things with your rose-colored glasses, like you don't remember all the things, or you do, and now you feel guilty. So you're trying to tell me to do these things differently so that I don't feel guilty, but I'm not you. Leave me alone.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate just enjoy it. And they're always saying at the worst time. I feel like I'd have, like, twins who are throwing a tantrum, and then you got my other baby, and one of them's having a diaper blowout, and the other one vomited on the floor, and the other one's screaming and laying on the ground, thrashing around, and you're trying to scoot everyone with your foot and trying to, like, wipe up the poop and not get the vomit everywhere, and they're just like, "Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it." And you're like, "You come enjoy it. Why don't you
Yeah.
enjoy it?"
Yeah. Here, you hold this one. Get
Yeah,
this
you
poop all over
here,
you. How about that?
take the blowout, baby, please. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, but it is interesting because it's like the signaling is all off. I don't really understand because, financially speaking, they're always like, live like a resident after you get out of residency.
Yeah.
But then they're like, you would have wanted this when you were a resident. And you're like, but you just told me to live like a resident. I'm so confused. Like, what do you want? What do you want from me? Right?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just funny because I feel like in residency, you're almost more supported because you had, this little pillow around you that, you weren't gonna fail, and if you failed, like, somebody was right there to kinda help, and now, like, you don't have that,
Mhm.
right? And so, that anxiety that's, like, always building right here to your left side or whatever is, it's strong because you don't have that buffer that you once had, right? And so now I'm kind of like, well, residency was really nice. I wish I would have taken advantage of some of those things when I was in residency, but I was so
Oh, yeah.
afraid to fail in residency because then you're like, everybody's talking crap about you. And, it's just like,
I think too, there were so many messages like, "Oh, just wait till you're in dental school, it's gonna be
hmm
great." And then, "Just wait until you're done with dental school, you're gonna be living the life." And, "Just wait till you're accepted into residency, it's gonna be such a relief. Just wait when you're done with residency." And And so I think it's made this arrival fallacy idea of like, now that I'm here, everything's perfect. And
hmm
people don't really tell you in those moments the hard things. And even, do you know Dr. Gallagher? He's on social media and
hmm
he was talking, he's kind of freshly out and just took boards and everything. And he was talking about, guys, you thought in residency you're going to have so much extra time. And now here I am feeling still like I don't have that much time.
right. Yeah. And you and I've talked about that when he was posting something about like how many cases or whatever his schedule is. And I was like, dude, chill, bro. But I guess it's kinda like when I went on deployment and I'm like, "Well, I don't have any hobbies," and I'm used to working 110-hour weeks, and here I am stuck
Yeah.
on a freaking floating prison, and so I bought a sewing machine and taught myself how to sew and how to embroider and how to do all the things, and I bought a little toaster oven, even though I was not allowed to do these things.
Well, you're trying to make like your own little.
But, you just fill your time because you're used to working so much that then you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Well, now what do I do? I don't have somebody breathing down my throat and calling me in at 2 AM," and, you know?
Yeah,
So
definitely. Definitely.
I don't know. That's such a strange trend, and I haven't seen it because I'm not on TikTok. But these things are really funny, and it's funny how they take hold because I feel like people are like, "Oh, I can jump on that." And then you're
Mhm.
like, "But maybe don't. But maybe don't."
The one I keep seeing, the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes." And I'd been preparing this lecture that I'm gonna give for
Mhm.
social media for doctors, and one of the things is like, I know you don't wanna be an influencer, but I think it's so important you get on to, like, spread education so there's not misinformation, and so the first time I saw this one going around, it's like, point of view, why are doctors trying to be influencers? Oh, because influencers are trying to be doctors, and so
Yeah.
the first time I was like, "Yes!" But the 25th time, I'm like, "No, not again."
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you could come up with your own fresh take, that's great, but sometimes we don't need, like, the 300th version.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I think where you look at it, my purview is so much narrower. I think like my algorithm is so much narrower because I think you follow a lot of these people. And so
Yeah.
it makes it seem very much to you like this is all that people are doing. But from
No,
where I
you're
stand, it's
exactly
like,
right.
oh, yeah, look at your chickens. They're so cute. And like,
I was on the chicken side of TikTok today, actually. I kinda it's weird how the algorithm can get you on a weird little thread.
yeah. And then you think that everything is in this little like oasis of, or Neverland or whatever it
Right.
is, but
Well, one
mm,
problem with being in the dental world, especially if you get on Threads or Twitter X, is you get all these people posting about dental, but it's always negative. No one's like, "My dentist was the best." And so it's like, oh my gosh, people hate us. I mean, we know they do, but like people really, 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 really hate us. They always have horrible things to say.
Yeah.
And lots of comments in response. So, yeah, the algorithm will definitely kind of warp your view, I think, sometimes of what's out there.
Yeah, I think there was a lawsuit about that lately.
Right.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. How about
Curious to see what
that?
happens, like, when our kiddos are in their teenage years, you know what I mean? I think that the world is changing a lot because of that. I was really
Oh,
glad to
yeah.
see that, but then you just never know what the fallout's gonna be because I almost feel like they knew that was coming, and there's something behind it that's gonna be even more powerful. I don't know, that's just my
Right.
cynicism.
Something that I loved when we had Matt Waldrop on was he said, "We probably blew it and we're getting it wrong. Well, we probably won't figure it out, but our kids are smart enough and they've
Mhm.
grown up with it. They'll probably figure out the smart way to harness that." And I'm like, well, I love that idea. I hope so because it has caused so much trouble in some ways.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny, even with my seven-year-old, he sees all of these things that he thinks that the older cool kids are doing. He's like, "I want video games. I want this and this," and I'm like, "Sorry, you're not gonna get any of those things." He's always wanting to play with my phone. I'm like, "You can't have my phone. Like, you can't have that. Sorry," you know?
Right,
But
right.
it's
I
just
know.
interesting, so we'll see.
Definitely. So another thing that's been going around, you see a lot of people talking about weaponized incompetence. Do you know what that is?
I have sons, so yes, I do.
So anyone who
I
doesn't
sure
know what it
do.
is, it's usually in the context of a husband or a male partner when the woman asks him to help. He's so bad at helping that's just not worth asking, which is really kind of sad, right? So there's one guy on there who is trying to teach boys how to do these tasks so that they can be good contributing partners, teaching them ironing and teaching them how to do the laundry and going grocery shopping and things like that. And so that's wonderful. Yay. Yay for equal partnership and good helpers and everything. But he's kind of stirring up some controversy a little bit too, because one of the videos is talking about like we're at the grocery store and we just have to get this right. So we have to call mom and ask her what kind of milk she wants. Let's call mom and ask her what kind of apples she wants.
Yeah, and mom's not the one drinking the milk or eating the apples. It's you and the people that are with you. So,
Right.
yes. Yeah.
And so it's this idea of it's not really lightening the load if not only do I have to make you a list of everything
Mhm.
to buy, but I have to tell you exactly what kind of thing to buy, and I have to tell you exactly what aisle and what shelf to look on. If you had to call me 12 times, it was probably easier for me
Just to go.
to go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. But I wonder too if that's part of the thing because I always hear that, well, if you do it and you mess it up, well, then she'll just always do it.
Right.
You're
Well, it
like,
reminded me in residency, there was this ENT resident that my husband knew in his program, and he always would say, I mean, I heard it, Abe heard it multiple times. If a nurse calls me, I have to make her pay for it. So, and part of me admired it, and part of me is like, oh my gosh, because the nurses are usually just trying to do their jobs,
they
right? But
are.
every once in a while at 4 a.m., they're like, you know, something really dumb. Like, did you really want labs drawn? And you're like, yeah, that's why the order's there. Or they're like, I'm cleaning up the med list. So I'm calling you at 4 a.m. Like, I'm in bed. Can you clean up the med list at 7?
Yeah.
So he would always make them pay. So for example, like, hey, can we get a Tylenol order? He'd be like, sure, but why don't you do a milk and molasses enema while you're at it?
Jeez, that's terrible.
I
I
know.
always remembered sorry, this is just a little random sidebar, but I always remembered in our ER because the oral surgery service is so responsive, right? And we're always happy to
Yeah.
help and we're, fun to be around. Duh. It's like I remember the ER calling if there was like a little vestibular abscess and I'm like, "I'm gonna walk you through it." Right? Because the mouth is far less scary than every other place that you're
I
draining
know.
abscesses in the emergency department. And so I would just walk them through it and I'm like, one, you're getting paid to do this. And if I came in, I don't even know who gets paid for it because it wasn't me, it wasn't my staff because they weren't there. I guess just the
Mhm.
ER docs. I don't know. But also it's really good for everybody, especially in an emergency department, to be able to do that, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily make them pay, but I
You
did
would
lead the horse to
educate
water.
them. I mean,
Yes.
that's great. Teach a man to fish.
Right?
Teach a man to poke, and he can get his own puss.
See? That could go so many ways.
Man,
It's
we're
so
so
wrong.
wise. We're so
Yes.
wise.
I'm gonna have you read that one back to yourself just to enjoy it later.
I know. I won't text it to you, get it wrong as we did in the past. It's gonna come
Yeah.
out really, really wrong.
Yeah. But I don't know. I saw this one video that was like the actual inside of my wife's brain. And I sent it to Spot because it was so spot on. Like it was like this like amusement park with like the rides going everywhere, like going through each other and like just complete chaos, right? But you kind of know where all the things are, but it's complete chaos. And I was like, this is how my brain is. And so when you ask me to add one more thing to the list, I'm like, "Ah."
Yeah, well, for sure. My husband, he's really wonderful. He's a saint of a husband and he's so helpful and he shoulders so much of the load and he's like such a partner. And still, we've had those moments where what's for dinner, even if he's taking care of it. But lately, he has it all planned out. I come home and sometimes it's what should we have? And I don't know either. And we both figured out, but like so often he's got it taken care of. He and the kids are already making it. And then even yesterday for Easter, I made lunch, but I was sitting on the couch. Next thing I know, dinner was done. And he and the kids had made this like fabulous Easter dinner. And I didn't have to do any consulting on it or anything. That was so
Yeah.
amazing. What a gift to enjoy the holiday and not to be the one that was 100% in charge of carrying that load. That was
Yeah.
amazing. It was so wonderful. And so I guess I have a little bit of a argument with the women who are complaining about the weaponized incompetence in a way, or like if you call me having to know about the milk, that's not helpful. But I would also say, are you contributing? And sometimes, again, it's just the men just not caring or paying attention. But sometimes I see
Mhm.
this a lot. We are such control freaks when it comes to our homes and our families that when our husband does do something, like he did
Mhm.
the dishes and he didn't do the dishes in the right way, does it really matter? As long as the dishes got
I'm trying
done,
to
does
get
it
over
matter if
that.
they weren't done the right way?
Mhm. I
Okay, this is for
know.
you. Or he bought milk. Does it matter that he bought the wrong brand of milk? Like, what milk is milk milk? Like, maybe you preferred the
No,
organic
it's
and he
not.
got the non-organic, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter enough. I think if we could empower our husbands and make them feel good about making choices, maybe they'd be more comfortable helping out. And I think sometimes we make it hard on them.
Yes.
You're
I
nodding.
agree. I am because it's just funny. Like I have kids, they're like, this milk doesn't taste as good as the other milk that we get. And then they won't drink it.
Yeah.
And then when we got back from New Zealand, they're like, we like the New Zealand milk better than this. They're like, well, that might be a little difficult, you know?
Yeah. Sorry about that, kid.
And so I think it does matter. I don't know. And then I start to wonder, well, why do we have these control type issues? I think about this myself all the time. Why do I feel the need to, I don't know, get grumpy about that kind of stuff?
Hmm.
But I'll tell you what I think mine is. Mine is that if you use something, you put it away where it goes because then you can find it again, right?
Hmm.
But my husband, he'll put something down and he doesn't put it back. And then he's like, where is this? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, if you'd put it back in the place where you got it from, you'd be able to find it now.
Exactly.
And then he's
Drives
like,
me
why do you spend
nuts.
so much time just like cleaning up? They're just going to make a mess again. And I'm like, because I cannot handle the mess on top of the mess. Right.
Mhm,
And so one
mhm.
time I tried to let it go. One day I was like, okay, you're right. I'm just going to let it go. Well, it didn't stop there. They just kept getting more things out. And so then it was like, it's almost like the mess bred more mess. It was like they were like, look at this pigsty. I guess it's a pigsty. Let's just trash it even more, And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why I do it. This is
Right.
why I do it.
And how many times have you set something on the stairs hoping someone would take it up and they just step on it or,
Right
there's
over
just a
it.
pile of junk. And even now my kids are 10 years old and it's a constant, why are you stepping on that? Watch where you walk.
Right.
Stop standing on things that will break. Why are you just tromping on it as if it's not there? Why are you stepping on the ketchup packet and surprised that it squirted out? That kind of stuff just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some of it, maybe the control factor too is like this world doesn't give women control of a lot of things, and our home is the one place we have.
Yeah. Our little sanctuary, right?
Right.
Maybe. Maybe that's it.
Maybe. I was joking with the patient the other day. I said, "Oh, I'm really happy with how your healing's going." And he's like, "Well, I want you to be happy." And I'm like, "Exactly. Because if I'm happy, you'll be happy." And I'm like, "I'm the boss here
Yeah.
for just
Sometimes.
a few hours a day. This is the
Intermittently.
only place I get to really be the boss."
Yeah. Every once in a while, I feel a small amount of respect, and that gets me through the rest of the day.
You gotta savor those
That's
moments.
right. Just
Be
gotta
grateful.
keep that one
Just
in my
be
pocket.
grateful.
Yes. Yes. You died for that little bit of respect when you were in residency. See? Full
Yes, no,
circle.
you
Full
prayed.
circle.
You prayed for that kind of power and respect. Just be grateful.
It's
You
so funny. You
wanted
know what I
this.
always say is, I'm like, "You know why I became a surgeon? It's so that I could pick the music in the operating room." And do you know who doesn't get to pick the music in the operating room now? Me.
I don't feel
Me.
I don't really exert that power either. I feel like it's not worth, changing, like, the culture of the room,
Right.
infringing upon the rights of the little people, so it's country a lot more than I would ever choose. 'Cause I'm that anything but country kind of person, I know, like, cold-hearted
Mm,
person that doesn't like country.
mm.
Oh, man. Next topic. Let's talk about cancel culture
Yes.
on
This has
social
been big
media.
again lately.
I know, right?
Yeah, and I don't understand. I thought we got over it, but apparently we're back. Remember, it was really big a couple years ago, and then everybody's like, "What is with this cancel culture? Like, this is terrible." And everybody's kind of like, "Yeah, you're right. That's kind of terrible. We probably shouldn't do this." And then it was like the next like big thing comes out, and they're like, "Oh, that person's terrible," and they like all jump on the bandwagon and kick the horse while they're down. I mean,
Mhm.
good lord, you know what I
Right.
mean?
And then there's people that really should be canceled and they're not. Like, how come
Right.
all these people in the Epstein files are just like, "Oh, well,"
Well, but I think that
like
I feel like we're just not seeing the fallout. And so so I'll bring this one up because this is one that really is strange to me. So Peter Attia, right? He's a health whatever,
Mhm, mhm.
wellness longevity dude. And he built this whole thing up podcasting and researching and doing all this stuff, right? And did a lot of stuff. And then he was in the Epstein files. Okay. Before all of this, I remember him being on a podcast right after his book came out, and they were talking about whatever chapter it was where he was in New York and his baby was or his kiddo got like almost died, and then
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't go back home for a while. And I was sitting here thinking, oh my God. Like I was crying when I was hearing this. And I was really upset about that, and I was like, I would just really love the opportunity to talk to his wife, to see how she handled that
Right.
and how she was able to move forward after that and what steps she took to be okay with that, because they moved forward, right? And then all this Epstein stuff comes out, and it turns out that he had meetings with Epstein during that time. And I'm like, oh my God, it just reinvigorated all of the things. But when it came down to it, I mean, that cancel culture with him was strong, right? And
Mhm.
it canceled him. I mean, he hasn't put out a podcast since then. And I feel like I looked at his social media the other day and he like kind of wiped probably a bunch of people were like, "Hey, take me off of your Instagram
Wow,
page. Like, I
yeah.
don't want that." And all of that to say, like, he's a person and he has a family and he has a wife and he has children and he made mistakes. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm saying we all make mistakes. And I put myself in his shoes. He gets out of med school, does this NIH stuff, goes to residency, and then drops out of residency, I guess? I can't remember, but
Yeah.
leaves that, and then can you imagine, like, leaving residency and everything that you've worked your whole life towards now you feel like a failure, right? Because you feel like you didn't even complete what you came to complete, right? The arrival, whatever, fallacy, and you didn't arrive. But everybody else is still on the path to arrival and you're off the escalator. And so I can only imagine the mental gymnastics that happens with that, right? And so I'm watching all of this unfold and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of gross and it gives me the ick and stuff, but I'm also like, you know, in that way, I just don't need to be part of it. I don't need to buy his book. I don't need to do whatever. But he's also got a family and he's got kids that are completely innocent of all of these things. And now their lives are turned upside down too. I guess it's a good wake up call to people to stay out of relationships like that. But at the end of the day, we have to also consider the ripple effect that it creates, which I think is really strong. And I just think it's sad. I don't know because I
It's
want,
hard to know for me because, I mean, we're all human, but we all make mistakes, and I think everyone's a mix of good and bad and, better or worse or whatever, and if we threw everything good out because of the bad that someone did, then there wouldn't be a whole lot of good left in the world, and that's where it's
mm-mm.
tricky, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
we can look at most of the politicians that we know in the world and be like, look at these good laws they, advocated
Hmm.
for, but look at all these sleazy things they did. People want to discredit Martin Luther King Jr. because he was maybe having affairs with, women on the side, like it's so easy and it's so hard to know. And I remember my father-in-law, who's a researcher, they built this eye institute that they received a bunch of money from this really big casino guy in Las Vegas, and they named it after him. And that was in the height of the hashtag Me Too efforts. And so he got hashtag Me Too'd. And so they couldn't accept his money anymore, or they wouldn't name it. Maybe they'd keep his money, but he wouldn't name it, but they had like give the money back. He didn't want to, whatever it is, because they couldn't name it that, like they lost the funding. And I just kind of thought, that's too bad. Because
Right?
even his dirty sleazeball money was going to do so much good in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So it's hard sometimes to know where to draw the line. But I
Yeah.
think sometimes we draw the line so easy and fast over kind of silly little things. So we have both met Dr. Betsy Grunch, lady
Mhm.
spine doc. She's kind of going through it right now on social media. She has millions of followers and is probably one of the, if not the most successful medical content creator out there. And yet she's totally under fire right now. And you could say people are trying to cancel her. I'd say she has a big enough loyal following. Maybe she hasn't fully been canceled, but she's definitely going through it for a few different things. She has a DOJ investigation, I think, having to do with maybe some kickbacks. And then she's also been promoting some different businesses or products that people feel like are not very aligned with her and her brand. And so it's kind of eroding trust, et cetera. And so she's getting all sorts of people online talking about her and criticizing her and all of that. And it's been interesting to kind of watch that play out. What do you think? Having met her, what do you think of her? And do you think that it's fair that she's getting the criticism she's getting?
I mean, I think it's always that fine line, right? You can be successful, but if you become too successful, then people come after you, right? But it's like that with everything. If you're number 1, every other team is trying to beat you. But it's so ridiculous. Like, God forbid somebody's on social media and is also a doctor, right? The whole kickback thing is so interesting to me because everybody talks about medications and how doctors are only prescribing these medications because they're making money off of it. And I'm like, I don't make any money when I prescribe medication to somebody. I'm like, how is this a thing?
Right. Why
And
does everyone
like,
think that's so widespread? Because it's really not a thing at all. Like you go pick it up from a pharmacy that I have nothing to do with.
right. And I don't choose your pharmacy, you choose your pharmacy. And so I think then it's like, well, my friends that are in business and in corporate world, and they get all kinds of kickbacks, right? They're like, oh, I earned this trip for being the number 1 salesperson on this street in that quarter. And so now I get to go on this fancy trip. And I'm like, wait, what? You get what? Huh? I'm like, I'm lucky if I get like a little notebook and a pen, like.
A chip clip is really an upgrade.
Right? And so it's just like, it's so interesting to me that it's so easy to jump on and be like, oh, well, that's obviously influencing your ability to be a doctor because now you're just making all your patients do these things. You're experimenting on them because you get kickbacks. And you're like, um, remember that time that I took the Hippocratic Oath and, first do no harm? I'm not going to sit
Yeah.
here and give my patients things and watch them deteriorate. That's not good for anybody or their soul or my ability to look in the mirror at night?
Right.
So, I don't know, I think it's just like once you get to be popular, just somebody's gonna be coming after you.
Yeah, and I don't really know. It'll be interesting to see what the DOJ stuff pans out to be. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt as far as like criminal charges or any of that. Some of it, I could see myself accidentally doing something like that just because like a company came to me and I would think, well, if they're coming to me, then it's probably okay. Like they know the
Right.
law. Like, I think sometimes we're just like dumb business people
Mhm.
and you wade into something that you just didn't realize was a liability and we're busy and you just think, oh, that sounds cool. Yeah. I don't think I would ever get in a situation no one's trying to pay me anything, really.
Right.
But, I feel for that situation. I don't know. Did she do it with malicious intent or not? Or was it just a mistake? I don't know. As far as her promoting products, I don't really have a big issue with it. I mean, I think people should promote things that they're in line with. And hopefully as a physician, you're not promoting things that you don't use yourself or think are good products. But I think we as a consumers just have to decide who we trust and if that's what we want to believe or not, who we want to believe or not. Like if you start getting into the scammy grifter stuff, yeah. But I think
Mhm.
I got approached by a brand once and I thought I was in alignment and I'm like, "Sure, I'll make a video for you." But then the script they had and stuff just seemed so weird and not really what I
Yeah.
would want to say, and the thing I wanted to say that made me feel in alignment, they like, "No, that's not really the way we wanna go with it." And so it really wasn't worth the small amount of money that they wanted to give me because it wasn't authentic to me. It didn't
Mhm.
feel right, and I even, like, made this script and tried to do it all the ways they said,
Yeah.
did like 50 takes, and then finally I was like, "This is messed up. I'm just gonna talk like I normally do," and that's the take we end up doing, but I think it's really easy to get kind of pulled into these directions that maybe you aren't in alignment, but I think from a brand, from a professional personal brand, I think that's important where people will start getting the ick a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially as a physician, you're not likely to promote things that you know are gonna be harmful, right? I mean, and
Right.
we're all different. We're not cars. Everybody doesn't get the same tune-up, right? And so I think that that's very difficult because if something works for me, it may not work for you. But I think that's why everybody's like, "This is not medical advice. If you have questions, please contact your physician to da 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 da," you know? I think this is where in the medical space it gets really difficult is because I think a lot of the things are it's like, "Oh, these are grifters," you know, and you're like, "Well, wait, but we're talking about things like homeopathic remedies that have been used for thousands of years and have now been chemicalized and now manufactured, and so now you're saying that the regular stuff that's not manufactured is bad because you want me to buy the chemical-y stuff."
Sometimes my issue with that too is just sometimes we come down so hard on the science part that there's no data, so no, it's terrible.
Mhm.
And a lot of these just they don't have science or not, so we don't know. So
Yeah,
it might work for this thing. Just because we don't have the research doesn't mean it doesn't work. So I think there is more gray area and the people that shame people for using other products that don't have any research, to me, I'm like, well, if there's research that says it doesn't work, that's like a whole other thing.
right.
Then, oh, it actually seems like maybe it's working if you want to try it and you like it. Like, I'm all for it, but I don't know. There's no research to support it. I think that's a better way to frame it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's really sad because I think she's doing a lot of good in the medical space and the influence space and social media. And even people that I would never have thought would follow her or know about her were like, oh, yeah, Lady Spine Doc, I know her, you
Hmm.
know, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. I would have never expected that her reach got that far. What she's doing is really great. And so I think I just want her to push forward and keep going. And this is just like a little gnat that's like just annoying. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I think she's doing so much good in the space.
Yeah. I hope it all was just a misunderstanding and some lack of alignment. I also think I don't like the jump on the bandwagon thing. Like I think a lot of
Yeah.
people are criticizing her now. Like they could have found things to criticize her for all
Oh,
along
sure.
potentially, but
Mhm.
now suddenly it's like virtue signaling like I'm so virtuous that I'm calling
Mhm.
her out. And I don't love that aspect of it. It's fine if you don't align with her, if you don't follow her anymore, if you don't want to give her your
Yeah.
attention, but jumping on the bandwagon as if you've always known when we know you didn't always know or think that. That kind of
Right.
bothers me as well when you're just
Yeah.
using it for clout. But I think, she's always been very kind and I have her phone number. I've texted her before.
Yeah.
So she's always been very nice in all of our interactions. So I've never had any reason to think ill, but hopefully all of her investigations and stuff will come out as maybe a misunderstanding, but I think it's a good warning to all of us, that doesn't matter how high you rise, you do
Right.
need to make sure that you are,
Yeah.
doing things that are authentic and in alignment to you and who you are and what your values are.
Well, and here's why influencers acting as doctors because they don't have their license on the line and they can say whatever they want and it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? But when we're out here putting out information that maybe somebody doesn't agree with, well, we have a lot to lose.
Yeah.
And then they take advantage of that. And so you're like, so
Yeah.
what do you want? You know, do you want good information or do you want crappy information for somebody that's not doesn't have any liability?
Right. It's so frustrating, yeah, the claims and the things that people can say, and we have to be so careful and mince our words so that we don't get into
Mhm.
hot water.
Yeah. Well, and even like with all of the peptides and stuff, all the stuff that's big now, you know, and these little smaller groups talking with physicians and stuff, they're like, well, I use them. And they're like, but I would never prescribe them to my patients because
Right.
there's not enough research, there's not enough data, there's not enough. Well, okay, I get it because your liability is on the line and all
Right.
of the stuff. But now, because of this, like, we're not really allowed to talk about it, and so people are just making their own decisions, which I think is fine, but is the information out there good? Or is it now people are just gonna do it themselves because they can't go to their doctor to get
Yeah.
advice on it, and so they're just gonna figure it out on their own and probably maybe, I don't know, hurt themselves. And
Yeah.
so I think it's such an interesting time because there's this gray space where we're not allowed to talk about it, but there's other people that are talking about it, but they shouldn't be talking about it. And then everybody in between is like, "Well, I'm just trying to get information," and so the information they're getting is maybe not what you want them to get, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I'm not really sure.
I'm not either. New topic. We don't like as surgeons going places like that we don't know. We gotta stay where
Yeah,
we know things,
that's right. That's
right?
funny because, like, you say that, and I was gonna ask you about this the other day because Jessica posted something, and I wanted to see what you thought because it was a little thing that says, "Confidence comes from trusting your ability, not knowing everything." And I was like, "But as oral surgeons, I feel like we do trust our own ability, but nobody else does because they don't know what we do. And so then we feel like we have to know everything because we
That's
can't
true.
definitely can't have them come to us and not know the answer. So we have to know all of the things about all of the things, and we have to know medicine, and we have to know surgery, and we have to know ENT, we have to know ophthalmology, we have to know neurosurgery, we have to know all of the things. And then we need to make sure that we stay on top of that because somebody might ask us a question about it, and we can't let them know that we don't know everything. But
I
then you talk to an orthopedic
know.
surgeon, they're like, "I don't do medicine. That's
They're
why
like,
we have
"Bone I'm a
internists."
bone doctor." Yeah,
Yeah, and you're like,
exactly.
"Huh,
Well, even the eye doctors I was telling you, they were saying, like, "I'm an eye dentist. I don't ask me medicine," or like my derm friend, like,
yeah,
"Oh, I'm a fake doctor. I don't know any of that stuff." And I'm like, We're not ever allowed to say anything like that." Like, we get in so much trouble if we'd say, like, "I'm just a dentist," on our hospital rounds and stuff, like, oh my gosh, we're always having something to prove.
yeah,
I was feeling today I was in the OR, this patient had this giant cyst in his maxillary sinus, and his wisdom tooth was up there, that was the source of the cyst, and so I was definitely feeling like an oral surgeon, an ENT, and an eye doctor as well, so I'm, like, looking at the floor of the orbit going, "Are you intact? I sure hope so."
don't move,
'Cause I
don't
I don't
move."
want the eyeball to be falling down and muscles to be getting entrapped, and I didn't have a plan to put a implant in or.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like, I think it's intact. There's kind of a little fracture line, but everything seems stable, so I don't think I need to do, like, vision checks and stuff, but I was kinda wishing I was an eye doctor as well in that moment. I hear ya.
yeah.
I hear ya. So, the last topic I wanted to talk about, this is kind of old news. This is from the Olympics. We haven't had a chance to talk about this, so I was curious what your thoughts were on Lindsey Vonn. So, I think everyone knows that she did her last race and she hurt herself and decided to do the race after all and then got pretty hurt doing the race. So there's like so much commentary online about whether that was appropriate or good if she did that. What were your thoughts? Did you think it was this inspiring, amazing girl power moment, or do you think some of the criticisms were valid?
That there's a whole industry, a whole career path of critics, right? Like movie critics. Their whole job is just to criticize. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of like this situation because she's clearly an elite athlete and she clearly thought, well, like I think that my healing has gone well enough from this previous injury that I should be okay. And this is my last Olympics because I'm not going to wait another 4 years and still keep going because I think she's
She's like our age. Yeah,
yes,
she's
yeah.
older
And
for
so
Olympics.
yeah, and at the end of the day, it's not up to me, or it doesn't matter what I think because I don't know the situation and I don't know how she felt. She's clearly doing this all the time, and so okay. And sometimes things just don't go as planned, right? I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
and sometimes you get injured and sometimes it can be really bad, but that's skiing in a nutshell. I don't ski anymore because I didn't really like it that much. And then I tore my ACL and I'm like, see, this is why I don't go skiing. And now I've had 2 ACL surgeries and I'm like, that wasn't worth it. You know what I mean? But skiing has just inherent risk, that comes along with it. And clearly she knows that. Um,
Yeah.
then I sit back and I'm like, oh, well, if she didn't go, then what? Then I'm like, "Oh, yeah, they have alternates," and there's somebody clearly that was like, "Just drop out, just drop out, just drop out so that I can go to the Olympics," and I get that too, right? But, like, to them, do better. like next time
Mhm.
it'll be your shot. But,
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know, maybe she felt it was her last shot. I hate that people just are like Monday morning quarterbacking and trying to tell you, well, she shouldn't have done this. Okay, well, thanks for your opinion now. Right? What
Yeah.
do you think?
I don't know. I was a little more of the critical mindset. And again, it's her choice and she gets to do whatever she wants. So it doesn't really matter what I think. I think some of my thoughts were, it just seemed really high risk and I'm not sure if it was worth it. And the message that gets sent to young people. And part of that's I'm a mom and I'm in that stage where my kids are starting to get to that age where junior high sports feel really high stakes or high school sports feel really high
Right.
stakes. Like my assistant at work, her son is just this amazing natural athlete. Like whatever sport he touches is just like first time you ever wrestle, you're going to state wrestling match the next
Yeah.
week type of thing. You did it for 2 weeks and now you're wrestling. He's just one of those
Yeah.
golden children in
Mhm.
sports. And because of it, you see every coach wants a piece of him. He's in 8th grade, but he has to pitch, like, 3 different levels of games in one day because the 8th grade team really wants to win, and the ninth grade team really wants to win, and the JV team really wants to win, and you're thinking, like, he's not even in high school yet. He's not even anywhere close to the peak. Like, maybe as a senior, he wants to do
Yeah.
amazing, and he could play college ball or take state as a senior, but does it matter in 7th or 8th grade? And just the way he gets pushed and pushed and pushed and is getting injuries, and then he, of course,
Right.
wants to push through it because he wants to play and he loves it, but then the
Yeah.
coaches are pushing, and so I see from that standpoint, this idea of glorifying that, like, "You put it all on the line for the glory, like, it's amazing," and
Mhm. Reminds
when
you of surgery
you're
residency too, right? Doesn't it?
right,
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
"Oh, I was on
exactly.
call last night and I'm staying. I'm gonna stay for this case
Right,
today." And they're like, "Yeah, that's the way to go. That's teamwork." And you're like, "Is
right.
it though?"
So for me, it's kind of the boundaries part of it is like, if she had chosen not to, that would have been a very valid choice. And I think
Yeah.
at her stage, if it's your last race ever and you're just like, it's worth it, like that totally makes sense. But I just
Yeah.
think it's hard for younger people to flesh out the nuance of that. And when we're like, highly praising that as if that was the best thing she could have possibly done, that's where I don't love it. Like that was fine
Right.
choice for her to make. It totally
Yeah.
makes sense in the scheme of who she is and what she has to lose. And if she never
Mhm.
skis again, she probably is not skiing again competitively anyway. It was worth laying it on the line. But when we act like that was like the peak pivotal thing of performance, the most amazing act of human bravery you can ever do. I look at Simone Biles. I think that
Mhm.
was probably even more the act of human bravery you could have done. That all the pressure and all the people riding on you, like, you're gonna do the thing that's gonna win the gold medal for everyone else, like, so much pressure. I think that was kind of the opposite situation where she was so brave and stepped down. So I think there's nuance to both. I see
Mhm.
both ways, but I think people are, like, really mad that people are critical, I think are kinda missing that side a little bit, that I think boundaries are important.
Yeah. And this always goes back to things that I always think about. One, with like the Lindsey Vonn stuff, one of my other catchphrases, like, and this usually comes when people are like, "Oh, you like flying?" And I'm like, "Yes, I love it. And I love turbulence and I love all this stuff." Right. And I'm like, "It's better to go down in a blaze of glory." Right. So, like something like that. But then, because of this theme that you've been saying over and over, the theme that keeps coming to my mind is, oh, well, if Simone Biles steps down, then we have a no shot at winning gold. And you're like, well, why are we relying on one person? Why are we putting all of that load on one person to carry everything else?
Mhm.
That's unfair. I can't imagine why she's having mental health issues when you've just told this person that she's the only way that you can win. And if you step down, then there's no way that we're going to win. The whole country's going to hate
Right,
you. And like, come on. How about everybody else work harder? I don't know.
right. Well, I
It
think
is a team.
that brings up, like, such an important point. Was it really her decision? I think she's a competitor and she just wanted to do it and she's gonna do it regardless of what anyone said, but I think there's so much outside pressure and it's really hard to
Mm,
separate that, and I think, you need to be authentic to who you are and to do it for the right reasons and to realize the risk. Did she realize that if she got hurt, she might lose her leg? Because I think that was really a thing that people were like, "Wow, she might lose her leg now," and if she's like, "It was worth it," then great, and I
yeah.
mean, you can't always calculate all those risks. I mean, who would know that that could happen? Probably, but you can't predict everything. But I think just we need to be careful when and that's kind of the whole point of this podcast today in my mind, when we like what's the word?
Like overanalyze it without having all the
Yeah,
information.
overemphasize like the good without realizing that there's nuance and there's boundaries to things. So when we just look at the gratitude side, when we just look at
Mhm. It's the both and, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Things can be both at the same
Dr.
time.
Reader would love that,
And I
right?
think, I see a lot of content on social media that's trying to be inspirational. It's very aspirational. And it's like, even though you're a mom and it's hard, you can still take care of yourself. And so here I am, even though I only got 2 hours of sleep, I woke up at 4 a.m. so I can get my workout in and do my meditations and do all of these things, and it's look how inspirational I am for all of you that you can keep doing it too. And I'm like, I can't do
Oh
that.
man, I'm tired just
I'm
thinking about
tired.
it.
Yeah, actually, Sarah's literally yawning right now. Like,
That
like
exhausts me just to think
it
about that.
seems very performative and not very
Yeah.
authentic or sustainable. And so to me, I'm like, that's not inspiring me. That's just making me feel even worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing to remember. Social media isn't really real.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's literally is performative or is
Because
trying
everybody's
to
just trying to be the next big thing, as opposed to just being you, because
Mhm.
what, you're not good enough, and so you can't be the next big thing. Well, no, and I watch my kid doing this stuff too. If he's on the little Google home screen and then YouTube feeds you videos that like started with science-y stuff, and then all of a sudden now he's watching so and so reacts to such and such. And then I see his behavior change
Yeah,
because he's like, "Oh, well, they're getting all of this fame," he thinks, right? Because they are reacting and I'm like, "Ugh, no, this is not gonna help you in life. I promise
right.
you that they might think that they're doing well by this, but I can promise you that in real life, nobody's wanting that. Promise."
Yeah,
It's just so
definitely.
interesting.
Definitely. Well, I'm a big advocate for social media and doctors being on there because I think we have so much to offer the
Mhm.
community and the world. And for me, it's really opened up so many huge opportunities. My life has literally changed from me getting on TikTok. It really has um, brought me so many different opportunities and things, but it's a mixed bag. It comes
It's
with
a
its
mixed
own
bag. Yeah.
challenges and you have to be a little careful. So I think it's fun to
Yeah.
just kind of talk about the different things that people are seeing and talking about online. And thanks for breaking it down with me today.
Yeah, thanks for, giving me the scoop on what's all going on in the world of social media, because
Now
I
you're
had no
all up to
idea
date.
otherwise. Now I'm caught up. Alright.
Well, thanks for joining us with another episode of the Resting Stitch Face podcast. Of course, as always, please like and share, and we'll see you next
Follow
time.
too.
That's what I was trying to say. Like, share, and follow. Thanks. Bye.